Confined space reclassification, probably one of the most highly debated topics.
Let's have some discussion.
Let's talk. Let's do it. All right, here we go.
Reclassification, confined space. What does everybody say to me? I locked it out. I'm done. I don't have to do any kind of permit, no kind of rescue, no kind of procedures, no kind of anything, no kind of training.
Yeah, so
all that just goes off one word.
Enormous benefit, like Joe's saying, to why there's a huge push to reclassify a space. And typically the push is coming from folks who don't have a lot of confined space background. And part of it's because, yeah, we don't have to do the training. We don't have to have the labor issues of I need coverage. I'm doing this on the weekend.
I don't need to buy no gear.
Now I need to pay overtime because that's when we do this project. Yeah, I don't need to buy equipment or gear or meters or entry or rescue stuff. I don't need to have a rescue team.
Can't we just print that formal line that says reclassification, fill it out, and all these problems go away?
Yeah, I don't need a permit then if I do that.
Just this one magic piece of paper that takes care of everything.
And the frequency issue. So if I'm doing this hourly, daily, nightly, whatever that looks like, I don't need to fill out anything if I can call it reclassified. So there is a huge push for why this is faster and easier for the business if we can just reclassify it.
We're a confined space training company, and for 23 years, we've done thousands of entries, and we hardly ever reclassify.
I'm going to tell you right now, our main bread and butter that we do is food manufacturing, meat manufacturing, poultry, all that stuff. Real limited spaces you can reclassify in those locations. So, mills and farms and everything that kind of supports those, we go to all of that too.
Truck washes, trailers, and
very limited in my career in the last 17 years of spaces that we have found that we can truly, genuinely reclassify. So that's first right off the bat. Just know that going in.
So I go to a management meeting. Jen says to me, "We're reclassify." And she tells me, we're going to save money. We're going to do this. As a manager, it sounds like a great idea.
Brilliant.
Yeah, you saved us money. And now Jen's going to get a bonus.
And
all this stuff because she made cost savings. She did for it's risky as can be, and we may hurt somebody. But the point is, you didn't
We're not going to talk about that.
So that's part of the thing you got to think about, too, is that you got to watch the presentations of what people do.
If it sounds too good to be true, you guys.
I've got a space. Okay, and I've decided that it's confined space. I've done assessments. There's other episodes we had assessments, procedures. We've done all that stuff.
Yep, we did it.
And now I'm going to reclassify this space. So what I got to do?
The argument is a lot of times when I do my assessment, I'm eliminating or control. I'm coming up with elimination or control of hazards for the things that I listed as hazards on my assessment, right? And so the push is always, well, I eliminated and I controlled everything. Should be able to reclassify. And my argument to that is, well, then why would we ever have a confined space permit if that's true? Because in order for me to even go in, I have to eliminate or control. I'll tell you a situation where a regulatory agency in one of the states said, I see that your pre-entry readings on your meter is not fresh air. You shouldn't let them go in because you didn't eliminate or control the air hazards. Yeah. Kind of a sound argument. I mean, that's true. You have to eliminate or control the hazards in order to go in. That doesn't mean that now also allows you to reclassify. That's just to go in. You have to permanently eliminate those hazards to reclassify.
Okay, so now we decided we're going to reclassify. So we're going to permanently eliminate the hazard.
Yep.
Are we going to double block and bleed or lock out anything?
That's a control.
Okay, how about if I disconnect the airlines or disconnect CO2 lines?
Did I do the right ones?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know.
How am I going to validate that?
One of the things that we want to watch is that if something's dependent on a human being not making an error, then I don't consider that a permanent elimination.
Okay.
Because I've got a lot of turnover in new employees happening. So if they are tired or it's a long shift or they're not on their A game or they're just new and they don't know and they misread something, I don't want to be dependent on they knew perfectly what's going on to base whether my reclassification. So
you're saying reclassification, if we decide to use it, we really need to only have like 3 people that really know what's going on, that really know that space, to say, these parameters, that's the only way they can reclassify it.
I would definitely
it's got to be smallly controlled.
Very tight group that's highly trained to be able to make those decisions, and they have to understand that equipment very well.
That makes sense to me, because we got to be able to say, this is what we're going to do. Okay. What if I'm going to introduce a new hazard? Like maybe I introduce sanitation chemicals.
Well, that's a hazard, and I didn't eliminate.
I've already reclassified it because I didn't have a problem earlier.
Right. So now we're back under permit.
Oh, so now I go back from reclassification back to a permit?
Yep. Or welding.
That's a good point.
Another one.
And the reason we're bringing that up, everybody, is because we've seen that where they reclassify and then they do all this other work. And you're like, okay, but you can't.
Yeah, or like, we reclassified it because we clean it every night. What?
There's no air hazard till I put all the chemical in there.
That's right. Or burn or anything laying in the chemical that's burning me or whatever. Yeah, that's perfect.
So that's another thing. So you may want to
problem.
reclassify, but you still have to consider, is there hazards going
What
back in
are
there?
they going to actually be
job
going
task.
into the space to do? So that's the biggest thing. So throwing this out there, disclaimer. Yes, we train in confined space. Yes, this is one of our core subjects. Take this how you want, though. You've got to do thorough risk assessment. So nothing we say is just the end all. You've got to assess and evaluate your site. So this is just our opinion.
Some people say I fill out the reclassification form because it's easier than the permit. I will tell you, I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of permits. And by the time I've timed people to fill out the permit and time to fill out the reclassification form, it's about the same.
Yeah, it has pretty much the same data on it. So you're like, maybe just
I think the reason people are classified sometimes is they don't want the labor.
Yeah, it's a labor issue. I don't have to have an attendant there. I don't have to have a rescue team on standby. I don't have to do the training. I don't have to have the overtime.
I would never send someone into a space, just go have lunch. and that's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah. I would never do that. And I come back and say, hey, Jan, how you doing? That would be weird. I'd be like, I'm going to stay here even if it's not required because maybe I need to get a tool. Maybe there's still a buddy system thing that goes on. So we've talked about that too, that you may reclassify space.
How do you know if somebody's having a problem in there? They're
Whatever
just out there working it. Because when you start talking reclassification, you got your borderline working alone protocols almost in my world.
Yes.
It could be space that's kind of
remote,
you can't really
see them.
Or no one's around. You can't see them. You can't hear them potentially. No one knows that they're having an issue. If they can't get to their radio or something went on, that person could be in that space for hours and we don't have any idea.
So yes, you can reclassify. Yes, there's a lot of things you may or may not be able to do. Very tight parameters. But what about fall? Now I'm going to go 15 feet down. I'm wearing a tripod and winch. Why can't I reclassify that?
Well, I guess it goes back to my number one thing would be, how did we permanently eliminate the fall hazard?
Eliminate by hooking up to a harness.
Well, that's a control.
I hooked up to a winch.
That's a control.
And with a hook.
That's a control.
Okay. Well, I guess I didn't pull that off.
Still a control. Just climbing down a flat ladder using a ladder system. That's still a control.
And for those out there, is because we've worked events and you have to be able to winch the person out quickly.
And it goes back to, again, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it, it's not a space. You can call it non-permit. You can call it reclassified. You can call it whatever you want. But if your fire department and your EMTs will not go in because they call it a confined space, I would just call it a confined space. Yep. We still owe that employee the right to get out. And so if we're going to require our employees to go in and do tasks, potentially get injured, we want to make sure that we're giving them the right training on the job tasks we expect them to do. So that's the biggest thing. So if you've got more questions, you can reference episode number 12 and 13. Otherwise, allensafetycoaching.com. There's an entire confined space module that walks you through reclassification along with everything else, including how to do assessments, what should be in your program, how you pick a trainer, what should you be training on, and all the different roles.
We are it. We're our only sponsor.
Yes.
That's it.
So that's a really economical way. If you're just dipping your toe into the confined space subject matter,
but you're excited about
you can get a lot of education from there without having to feel like you're just blowing your budget to pieces. Otherwise, if you're like, you know what, we would really like to have somebody come walk through and do some assessments, talk to us about this, give us some training, allen-safety.com. That's where you can find all of the services we do in regards to confined space determination, doing assessments, and doing confined space training. That's our in-person services.
If you go to training, you get one of these stand up.
Yeah, you can also check out some of our merch that we give away for free if you attend a training class. If there's a topic you want us to cover, if you've got some other random questions, reach out. Allen Safety LLC is our handle on TikTok. We've got Facebook. We've got Instagram. Otherwise, Joe and I are both on LinkedIn as well. So you can catch us at Jen Allen or Joe Allen on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you again.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Safe, Efficient, Profitable, a worker safety podcast. If you're looking for more in-depth discussions or step-by-step solutions on all of the different safety and regulatory topics, please visit us at www.allensafetycoaching.com for web-based virtual coaching and training, or at www.allen-safety.com to book our team for on-site services, training sessions, to order merchandise, to learn more about our team and what services we provide in the field, or just simply to request a topic for us to cover on our next podcast. If you found today's podcast helpful and would like to support our podcast further, please help us by subscribing, liking, and sharing this podcast with anyone that could benefit from the information we cover here, as that helps us to continue to put out this free content. Thank you so much for your support.